Okay, I'm making a video of the last three questions, just in case you were confused and you want some explanation, then you can look at that now. So I tried to finish with this one, hopefully you understood, right, this is the base here, then it's 8 root 3, we said right here, but then remember we have to double that to get the entire base, which is 16 root 3, but then there's three different sides, so it's perimeter times the apothem times 1/2. So it's 1/2 8 times 48 root 3, which gives us 192 root 3. Okay, moving on to D. We know the side length of a regular hexagon is 12. Well, because it's a regular hexagon and we've seen that many times, it's a six-sided figure, which means it's an equilateral triangle. So if this is the side length, it's splitting it into 6 and 6. That means this length is 12, which means the apothem is 6 root 3. There's 6 sides to a regular hexagon, so it's the length of 12 times 6 different sides, which is the perimeter, times the apothem, times 1/2, which is 216 root 3. Hopefully for letter E, you've seen this a few times, right? If you have a square with a diagonal of 10, well, these two sides of the square have to be the same. That's why it's a square, because the side lengths are the same. So if we add Pythagorean theorem, x squared plus x squared equals 10 squared, that's 2x squared equals 100. So when you divide by 2, you get x squared equals 50. Well, I'm trying to find the area, and the area is x times x. So I'm just stopping there. Why take the square root only to go back and multiply them together, right? The area is x times x, right? The area is x times x, which is x squared, and x squared equals 50, therefore I'm done after this step. It's just 50. Okay, finally, letter F. This is a doozy. You had to use your trigonometry to find the missing pieces here. So notice this says regular pentagon. A pentagon is a 5-sided figure. So we have to divide 360 degrees by 5 to get each internal angle to be 72 degrees. But when you take your apothem and split that 72-degree angle in half, then we have a 36-degree angle up here, which means I have to subtract that from 90 to get the 54-degree angle down here in the lower left corner. So now I have this triangle. I'll draw it up here, which is 54 degrees down here in the lower left corner, 36 degrees up here. I know the radius of the pentagon is 8. The radius has to go from the center to a vertex. So that's not the apothem and that's not the side length in this case. So we know that this hypotenuse up here of this right triangle is 8. Well, I have to find the apothem and I have to find this side length right here and double it, right, because that's not an entire triangle. So let's first find the apothem. So what relates A and 8 to each other? Well, I went with the 54 degrees and I went with sine, but it didn't really matter. You could have done cosine of 36 degrees equals A over 8. I went with sine of 54 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse, which is A over 8. And so I used my calculator, I multiplied 8 times sine of 54, and you should get 6.47, etc., etc. To find the length of the base, I stuck with a 54-degree angle, but I did cosine of 54 equals x divided by 8, adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of 54 is adjacent over hypotenuse, or x over 8. I multiply 8 times cosine of 54, and I get 4.7. But in the formula, oops, I wrote that wrong, but I think my answer is correct. I have to double 4.7. So I have to do 4.7, whatever the decimal is, times 2, and then multiply that by 5, because there's 5 sides of a pentagon. So the perimeter is taking this result of 4.7, doubling it to get the entire base, multiplying it by 5 to go the 5 sides all the way around the pentagon. Then I multiplied this answer times the apothem, which is 6.47, etc. I take half of whatever that result is, and I got about 152.17, so that's around 152.2. I think these answers are with the non-rounded answer until the very end. If you rounded as you went, your answer is probably going to be slightly different from this one. Okay, if you didn't round, then you should have had an answer just like mine. So again, all of these problems are a little bit tricky because you have to use all the information we've learned from the past. If you're having difficulty or you didn't understand these, make sure you ask in class. But we will have, remember we always have a little Alex quiz to kick ourselves off now. So probably 2 to 3 questions that will be similar to what we did here. So I will see you soon. Hopefully this helped.